Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with SouthernIndianaWeather.com, bringing you a latest forecast update here. Before we get into the potential wintry stuff for the weekend, we've got the Arctic front moving through today. So just very quickly here, there is that front to your west. That is the season-changing cold front, and you see sparking out some watches and warnings ahead of it out here. For us here in southern Indiana, it's not going to be anything. If I just sort of zoom in on our area, you do see some showers that are breaking out here a little bit ahead of the front, but the main line still well to our west here. That'll roll in pretty much through the overnight hours, and it could bring a little bit of some heavy rain with it, but other than that, some gusty winds. Really nothing much more can be expected. If I turn on just the isobars here, you see how close these are together. Well, that's indicating here that you've got strong winds out in front of it, and so those winds will keep whipping until this is behind us, and then they'll start to ease up. Here's the way future radar shakes this thing out. There's some of that action just ahead of this line, but here the line rolls in and it turns into a heavy rain threat. The severe threat will be gone as you go in, but this is the overnight hours. This is midnight Central 1 Eastern time, and you might get a good half inch to an inch out of this if we just take a look at what the model is saying here. At accumulated precipitation, we can do that, and you can see as you roll through here over time, some places might get an inch out of this, but we're not looking at anything necessarily drastic out of this. The bigger story, besides the rain that's going to come in here, the bigger story is going to be the cold and the snow and the continued snow chances that it's going to give. And so we'll talk about that. First off, let's look at the cold. So here's the pattern as we had it this morning. We're in this ridging pattern. This is your ridge out here, and you notice you've got a trough out in the west. Watch this pattern just completely reverse itself over the next couple of days. We've been in that warm pattern underneath of that ridge. You can say goodbye to the 60s. Those are going to be gone for the rest of the month at least. Might see a brief return in January. We'll have to see. It is La Nina, and La Nina can sometimes bring extremes. I wouldn't rule it out, but it's gone for the foreseeable future at least. Watch this pattern just completely replace itself, and watch this massive ridge over the west just start building poleward up towards Alaska. And that's really going to allow this cold air to spill down from Canada. Whenever you get a highly amplified ridge, you're going to have a highly amplified trough with it, and that's exactly what we see here, so that by the time tomorrow evening comes, you are into this pattern. And then look, by the time Friday comes, when that Arctic air really starts to spill in, you've got this massive ridge over here, and you've got this deep trough, and you've got this pretty decent sized blocking ridge building over Greenland, and so that's going to allow this trough to stay in for a little while. And you see the cooler these shades get, the more intense the cold air is going to come with it. And so this is going to be some pretty sizable cold air, and just watch how far down to the south in the United States this cold air reaches. As we go past this weekend, it moderates just a little bit. It starts to lift back north. The core of that cold starts to lift off up towards New England. You get these ridging lines out here starting to move back in, but watch what happens. It's just as if winter reloads, and nope, doesn't allow that ridge to come in place. You just end up with another shot of it, and what you got coming down right here at the top is actually a lobe of the polar vortex that spins around. And by the time you get into this period, you could have some just brutal cold temperatures come with this. So that's something that we're going to have to monitor. That's out into the long range. Bottom line, it's going to get cold, and it's going to stick around for a while. If we look at actual temperatures out here, here's what the Euro ensembles say for this. And so here's Tuesday right here. We did reach into the mid-60s today, and you just watch this. The bottom just continually falls down, and so you could end up with some very cold temperatures. This weekend, it's probably temperatures in the low to mid-30s here for Evansville, and then you briefly warm up before you fall way back down here. And then look at these temperatures. You are flirting with teens by the time you get into here. That's what the Euro model says. If you go into the data for the GFS, you do see that. You do see some days that you only make it up to, for example, 32 and 34 on Friday. The Euro, not the ensembles, but the high-res Euro showing something very similar here. And remember, this is Evansville, Indiana that I'm looking at. So if you go in and you look at some other cities in Evansville, like just for example, let's look at Huntingburg, also in southern Indiana, and you can see you do reach into the teens on it. So you're going to have that urban heat island effect whenever you're in a big city like that. But in outlying areas, yeah, I think some temperatures for low temperatures temperatures in the teens, certainly reasonable. And, you know, if the data trends, I would not be surprised at all if you ended up seeing temperatures in the 20s for some of the area, and not making it out of the 20s on Saturday. This is what the Euro says. Let's look at the GFS. You know, about the same here, but watch what the GFS is doing later on with that brutal cold. Temperatures not going very far down here as well. And if we look at the ensembles, well, again, you see that kind of similar idea. So the bottom line is that cold is going to lock into place. Now, with that, then we have to take a look at what happens with precipitation, because any precipitation that we get in here with that cold locked into place, probably not going to follow as rain, probably going to follow as snow. So with that, rather than looking at a snow map, let's just first look at the vorticity in the atmosphere. This is spin in the atmosphere. When you get these little upper level waves of energy roll through them, and you got very cold temperatures, not only at the surface, but very cold by the time you get into the upper levels of the atmosphere, you can end up getting some snow squeezed out of it. It may not be much snow, but you can get some snow showers, and you could have light accumulations with it. So let's look at this. There's the game-changing cold front moving through here, and then watch what this does. By the time that is gone through the area, the Thursday rolls around, and you've got some pieces of energy that are starting to rotate here. And so you've got some energy by the time you get late into Thursday, early into the Friday morning hours here. You get a little piece of energy rotating that could potentially bring some light snow showers with it. You get another one that rotates through here during the morning hours Friday. Watch this one dig down. This would be our Clipper system for the weekend. That rotates in here on Friday and Saturday, and actually has a a pretty nice look to it. That could lay down a little bit of light accumulations with that one. That sticks around much of Saturday into Saturday night before we get a little bit of a break on Sunday. Watch this next one dig down. So here we are in the afternoon on Monday, and then into Tuesday you got this next one dig down. I wouldn't be surprised if both Thursday, Friday, even on Saturday, and then Monday and Tuesday featured some snow chances around here. Now let's go back to the surface model and see what that's doing, and that can help us see whether the surface is seeing this right just by looking in the upper levels of the atmosphere. There's that cold front go through, and then watch what happens. You've got these systems that start to dig down here. And so on Thursday here you've got some snow showers a little bit off to our west. This sort of angles this right over Kentucky, but the idea here is you've got some snow showers in the region. Wouldn't amount to much, but certainly it could cause some slick roads. Anytime you've got cold temperatures locked into place, and you've got a little bit of light accumulations coming down, the first snow of the season, people are going to drive like maniacs, because they always do here in Indiana when you get that first snow. So that's something that we're going to have to watch out for. That exits the region, and then watch what happens. You got this next little Clipper system that comes down on Friday night, overnight into Saturday morning, and this this is a pretty healthy looking Clipper system here on this particular run of the GFS from today. And then you've got another system that starts to dig down. Here's some more snow showers around the area on Monday. Watch this system dive down here, and then you got a decent little one that starts to develop on Tuesday. Could get some light accumulations from that as well. And then behind that you got high pressure working in. That'll dry everything out for a little while, but behind that you've got another storm down to our south, which I'll talk about here in a minute, and we'll end the video with that. But let me talk about the potential for this weekend. If you go look on the snow map, then here you can see on Thursday that Clipper system, the GFS, says kind of angles down to our south in Kentucky. We'll have to watch that. Could dump some minor accumulations here. You see the highest it's got is an inch or so here. We'll have to see. I'm a little skeptical of that. But then the next system dives down here over the weekend, Friday night into Saturday. And you're looking at possibly an inch, and even possibly 2 inches around the area, but mostly an inch or less over the area. So we're not talking about major accumulations. But if you get an overachieving system, sometimes these models don't always see everything right, and with enough spin in the atmosphere, you could squeeze out a little bit more than what this is seeing. So I wouldn't rule that out. And then Tuesday you start to see the next one dig down in. The brunt of that goes up to our north on this model run, but we'll have to see. We still add a little bit here. So again, over the next week or so, we could be looking at maybe an inch or two of accumulation out of here. Again, it's not going to be a lot of accumulation. Typically don't have a lot with these Clipper systems, but it will likely be something. I will be surprised if we don't get some snow showers squeak out of here at some point in time, and at least give us some light coatings out of this. And again, I'm thinking Friday night Looks like a pretty good chance for our first one and then next Tuesday. I wouldn't even rule out some snow showers on Thursday afternoon around here, but that was a little iffy at this point. So let's go back and let's talk about then later on in the game. So, you know, you've got these out of here. High pressure kind of stays to our south for a little bit. You've got some systems that roll up to our north there. But then you've got this next system that's going to dive in, and you see the GFS doing on this. It wants to take the low to our south, put a swath of accumulating snow. Is that reasonable? Well, let's go back here to this and let's take a look. The spin in the atmosphere. So here we go. Next week we got those systems roll out. Watch this piece of energy start to dive in over here to our west, and you start to see it form a low as a result of this. And you've got this system digging in from the north too. Do those two end up sort of merging together? That's your big question. The models right now are struggling with this piece over the southwest, and so what you've got is, again, you've got this piece diving in like this, and you form an upper level low out here. Where does that track? Does this race ahead of this up here? If this can race ahead up of this up here, so by the time that this digs in, that you could get a little bit of phasing of these two pieces of energy, then you could end up with a decent little system. And that's what the GFS is starting to do with this. You see, it's not strong phasing, but you've got hints of this being able to link up together there. And so as a result of that, that's why you get a system that looks a little bit more like this. The more phasing that happens, the more intense this system can be on the north side of it. But does this end up going to our south? We are well out in time here. And this model has been consistently showing energy coming into the southwest and ejecting over here onto our south. And then sometimes it doesn't see the piece of energy on another model run, and so it's entirely a northern-based system. Well, we're several days out here. Again, this is a system that's going to be affecting us more around the 15th. Now, pretty high confidence that we're going to have a signal rolling through here at some point in time. But we are going to have to look at kind of when that would be. If we just go out to Tropical Tidbits here, that site, and let's just go out here to Southeast Asia, and we will go to our 500 millibar chart, and let's take a look at what the East Asia rule would suggest here, and you know, consistently. So here's what you've got going on right now. Remember, when you've got a trough over the eastern portion of the United States, 6 to 10 days later, you're going to end up getting up a trough here. And I just want you to see how sustained this trough is for a good long while here. And you know, once it starts to lax up, it just sort of reloads, and another one just sort of comes back in here. And it's not until a little bit later, we're looking at the 13th, before that sustained trough starts to ease up a little bit. And then you see there's other troughs that start to attempt to dig back down in here, so that so the easing of that doesn't stay forever. So what you've got going on here basically is a sustained trough over in Southeast Asia. In other words, you're going to get a sustained cold in the eastern United States as a result of that. And every time you start to see one of these dig down, that's going to be another date that you've got a signal moving through that could potentially bring some precipitation with it. And so you've got this one right particularly over, let me go back over in here, I remember 6 to 10 days later here. So this one that you've got going on right here, right around the 5th of December, that is the one that could potentially bring us a storm around the 15th or so, or some things that are just after this. And you see, again, 6 to 10 days later. So you've got this sustained trough, and the signal is there pretty good. Something is going to pass through during that time. What exactly that system is, it's going to vary with every model run. And so sometimes you're going to see it down to the south. Sometimes you're going to see it up more towards the north. Bottom line is we're pretty confident something is coming. Organic forecasting methods show us that something is coming, and so we can expect that. The models will eventually catch up to the reality of that. And until that happens, unfortunately, we're not going to get a great handle on it. I do think there's certainly some potential with that big system. If we can get those pieces of energy to sort of phase up, then you can get a big storm here. But by and large, whether that happens or not, every year we have the modeling suggesting that a storm is going to phase up and give us the big ones, and then it never comes. So we'll keep it with a grain of salt for now, but certainly the potential is there. I would look at that one for the one that has the most potential of anything. The ones this weekend, not going to be a big deal, other than they could create some havoc on the road. You're not going to get a ton of accumulation out of that. But my early call was a light coating to up to 2 inches at most with these systems rolling in over the weekend. I'm going to stick with that for the time being. I think leaning it down towards the light coating to 1 inch or less basically is probably where we're going to end up at this point. Unless we get an overachieving system, Again, that is certainly possible. And, of course, if you want to get more updates, you can go to southernindianaweather.com. You can get the 10-day forecast there. This is for southwest Indiana, and it's cold, 44 for your high early tomorrow. Temperatures fall throughout the day, and look at this. We get some sunshine here, but it's going to be cold. By the time you're at Thursday, you're looking at 36 degrees. Snow showers start to move in on Friday. It starts to cloud up, only a high of 32. Some snow showers may be around there still on Saturday with a high of 31. And watch this, we warm up maybe for Monday, only to go right back down next week. So it's going to be an up and down roller coaster ride. And remember, if you want to get more details here, just right on the homepage of southernindianaweather.com. I have a daily blog. I put long-range blogs out there, so be sure to check that out. And you can read as well as watch these videos if you're subscribed on YouTube and getting these. Well, that's the way that we stand right now, folks. I'll have another update here for you real soon, so keep it checked. Here to Southern Indiana Weather on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at SouthernINWX. Keep it tuned to southernindianaweather.com. Subscribe here to Wilhite WX on YouTube as well, and we'll keep you up to date. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.